City of Grand Haven's City Council regular meeting of April 25th, 2022 is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Lowe?
Here.
Councilmember Cummins?
Here.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Here.
Councilmember Fritz?
Here.
Mayor McNally?
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. The invocation tonight is supposed to be delivered by Reverend Dr. Troy Hauser Bryden of First Presbyterian Church. Looks like he's joined us. Thank you, Reverend. And would everyone please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Let us pray. Our gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for the wonderful place where we live that has lakes and water and beauty and seasons. We thank you for that, and we treat it as a trust. So I pray tonight for our city councilors, for our mayor, for all those making decisions and conversations tonight, that you would guide us to lead to prosperity and to good health and well-being in our community, as well as to justice in this community. Lord, we thank you for the blessing of being a part of this community. We pray for your guidance tonight, and we pray for your guidance in the days and weeks to come. We ask this all in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. All right, it looks like this evening we're going to start with approval of consent and regular agendas. Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to have O removed and put on as F under new business.
Clerk, get that?
Yes, I did.
Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cummins?
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes?
All right, we have that approved with the only change being O on the consent agenda being removed and added as F under new business.
Thank you. At this time, we've got the first call to the audience. It's one of two opportunities. Members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn, and we will take your call. Is there anyone who would like to address the audience or the council?
Good evening. My name is Mark King. I live at 1847 Colfax Avenue here in Grand Haven, Michigan. I'm here tonight representing the West Michigan Historical Alliance, who is hosting the Feast of the Strawberry Moon, which is on your agenda. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Hi, I'm Patty Nelson, 1820 Pine Court, Grand Haven, and I know it's on your agenda tonight to consider the creation of a Sustainability and Energy Commission, and just would like to say that I'm in favor of that, and I hope that you all vote yes.
Thank you, Patty.
My name is Brittany Good. I live at 428 North 6th Street, and I am also here to support a Sustainability and Energy Committee, and I would also love to know what that looks like and how I can be a part of the committee once it is formed. I also would like to say that I think the community of Grand Haven would be in support of this, as I held a beach cleanup on Saturday where over 113 participants from Grand Haven came to participate and clean up Grand Haven State Park. Thank you.
Brittany, the beach cleanup and the riverfront cleanup were a wonder to behold. Thank you.
My name is Doug Vance. I'm from the Copper Post at 100 Washington in Grand Haven. First thing I'd like to do is apologize. I sent you all a letter, and it was somewhat inaccurate because I had listed that I had sent a copy to all the media. I have the envelopes. I never mailed them. After thinking about it a little bit, I said, let's keep this in the community as much as possible and get it resolved as much as we can together. There's a scripture that says, that we should come together and reason together, and I would certainly hope that we would do that. However, in sending you that letter, it was because of a survey that I took upon myself to do after the end of the last council meeting, when I was told that it was pretty much unanimous about the paid parking, and I just needed to get my act together and live with it. So I thought, well, that may be true. I don't know. I haven't talked to the merchants. So I put my survey together. I went to every single merchant in the 3-block area of downtown Grand Haven that was open last Thursday. And as you'll see in the survey, not a single one of those merchants is in favor of it. And boy, did I get an earful from a lot of them. I was amazed. But we have an opportunity, if we need revenue, to get together and talk about how we could raise that revenue. And I've got just a number of ideas, but one just that came off the top of my head is we got this Harbor Island sitting over there. I said, well, how about making it an RV park? I don't know if that's doable or not doable. Just, throwing out ideas. We could call it Oops Park, for the old obsolete power plant site. But there are some other ideas that I have too that, could certainly bring in revenue. The residents, I believe, would be in support of it. The businesses would be in support of it. But as I said in my first letter back in February to you folks, is let's make Grand Haven it is a welcoming place now. Let's make it more welcoming if we can, not less. The merchants that I talked to, and there were a lot of them, are all in agreement that we want people to come to Grand Haven because it's a great place to come to. And I heard stories about merchants having a customer in their store while they're watching Chalk Man come and chalk their car out in front of the store, and they're saying, oh, what does this mean? What's happening? That's not the feeling we want to give people. We want to give them a feeling of, welcome to Grand Haven, stay as long as you like, we're glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
I'm sorry, there's a recent letter?
I see something here. Copper Post. Is this, Doug, is there one for? Okay, and is there one for everyone?
No, there's only one copy.
Okay, I'll take care of it. Thank you. Ryan?
Hi, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Ryan Cotton, 515 Park Avenue. I have 3 things. One, working with your city staff, we'll be cleaning up as a C3 spiritual community on May 21st. 3 parks, the Bolt Park, East End, Harbor Island, and also the railroad tracks was suggested by Manager McGinnis. So we're going to be doing those things. Third, last week we spoke, I was here, some of us spoke about the budget and community energy plan. We spoke with the BLP board on Thursday, and they are taking it under consideration. At least staff is, and we'll see where that goes. So we're continuing our efforts. Third, I want to support the Energy and Sustainability Committee, reverse order, that you have on your agenda tonight. Thank you very much. And I think that's very much in keeping with what's on the wall of City Hall here, which is that all of our efforts are dedicated to the attainment of, through government, of a high level of living for every citizen. So thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Good evening, Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd like to talk a little bit about the diesel plant buy-sell again. I heard a few things at the last regular council meeting that concerned me, and I want to bring them up and discuss them. The first one, after two-year hold basically on the project where the bid went up from 400,000 to $1 million, this is the CL Lakewood bid, I would have expected a much better presentation, specifically on what changed. I mean, and what did change was the 5 new condo townhouses. There was absolutely no plot plan, and there was no front facade. These are really basics in a project. The community deserves it. You know, I'm insulted that we have a recommendation to approve it without even showing the community anything. The project was worth $400,000 to them, went up to $1 million, but yet nothing was shown. This is just terribly disappointing, and I think it in itself deserves a no approval tonight. The other thing that I was surprised to hear was that the city had suggested the condos, and this was completely against what I've heard previously. It was that the city did not want condo townhouses, and all of a sudden, in order to get a higher bid, it becomes okay. That's not okay in my book. You should stick by your guns. If you're not going to allow them, don't allow them. Also, we talked a little bit about bankruptcy and protection in the document. I know a couple council people brought it up. I think it's tremendous. I looked at the agreement tonight and I saw a name, and it's the Grand Power Works LLC, and that means Limited Liability Corporation. We heard how they had some very wealthy backers, deep pockets, etc. Well, a limited liability corporation does not go after the owners. It's limited. So, you know, the wealth of owners is not pertinent to an LLC. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim.
Jeremy Swiftney with Grand Haven Main Street, and I just wanted to thank you for your feedback and comments last week about the paid parking. I've had, just like Doug talked to a number of people, I've had a number of stakeholders of the downtown reach out in the past week with concerns. So we're very thankful that you want to take a pause on it, make sure that we have as much detail as possible, hear feedback from everybody. Just for clarity, when the DDA discussed this in February of 2020 prior to the pandemic, we discussed passing this along as informational to everybody. So this could be something where stakeholders could get their feedback out, could discuss what they did not like, what could affect their business, and then we could have that discussion. We felt that if you walked into a store and said, are you pro paid parking, 99% of people will say no. But if you give them a plan and said, what do you like and not like, we could actually have a valid and informative conversation about what it could look like in the future if that is something that the city wanted. So we're very appreciative. We're still having those conversations at our committee level, and Pat says my time's up.
That's not you.
I know.
That was the last guy.
That was Jim.
I can't stand for 3 minutes anyways. Pat knows this, so I have like one leg. So we're just very thankful that you're giving us the opportunity to continue that discussion, and we look forward to having that within our committee level, with other stakeholders, and then I'm sure with the city as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. You can come on in and sit down, sir.
My name is Rick Crow. I live at 1700 Robbins Road, Unit 603. I am 6th generation Grand Haven area. I am a 6-year veteran of the Navy. And this all should be pretty short and sweet, because you might wonder what would drag a guy out. The last time he was here was 40 years ago. The last time that I felt the City Commission was again overstepping their boundaries and trying to do something they shouldn't have been doing. The state has made it very clear. The people of the state made it very clear The town of Grand Haven has made it very clear. Be easy, all we would have to do is hold a vote if you didn't believe it was true. But cannabis should be legal. It is legal. And to have the city council blocking that, costing us, and I'd love to know who's going to do this, give us our $70,000 that we should have had this year for projects that you decided wasn't important. Okay, I'd rather get money off of selling booze, which is 100 times more dangerous than marijuana. There is no scientific evidence out there that marijuana causes any damage to anybody. Okay, now, what we've decided is that to the poor people, to the elderly, to the young, and the people who that can least afford it, we're going to make them go outside of town. We're going to make them get in the car.
Sorry about that. You still have lots of time
You're
left.
still good.
Oh, that was 3 minutes?
No, you still have lots of time
You're
left.
good to talk, sir.
I get a little nervous. I say, okay, the point being is that we're attacking the most sensitive group of people in the whole community. And just because someone feels, these 3 people, and I can tell you, I don't know these people, I know I voted for some of them, but these people feel that they have the right to say what makes a moral Grand Haven. Well, here's what makes morality. To be successful in life, to be successful in business, to be successful anywhere in the world, you must adapt to change. You must recognize change, and change must happen. And when I look here, and I see everybody on the board, maybe not as old as I am, but pretty damn old, except for the gentleman here is at least, if he's old, he's hiding it, you know, that thinks that they have learned some morality along the way that makes it special for them. Even though the people of the state told them what to do, even though the scientific facts tell them what to do, okay? And people will go, it's a starter drug. It gets you hooked on other things. The true starter drug in America? Popsicles, lollipops. Sugar creates kids into diabetics. Diabetics are one of the #1 causes of death in this country. What are we addressing? How can we be more moral and not be seen as a liberal place? We don't want that to happen. You know, if someone came up here and said, you know what, I don't like gays. Gays aren't right, they're not moral. Would you guys stay here and say, not moral, we're not going to do it. We're going to make sure that life for gays here is wrong. And I choose that subject just because it's a subject, right, a sensitive subject, that there really is no right or wrong. There is only wrong. People who are different deserve a right. And if you don't want to give the people a right, even when they all vote for it, I kind of question what you really want to do.
That's for real.
That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Council, Mayor. I'm Joyce Workman. I own Vintage Green, 7 North 7th. Want to thank you for last month putting Cycle Back to Centertown on the agenda. I know it is on the consent agenda, but as I said to the mayor, I'm responsible for this program, so I want to be here in case you have any additional questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joyce.
Madam Mayor and Grand Haven City Council, my name is Jim Patterson. I live at 15142 Echo Court in Spring Lake. But I am here on behalf of the Elks Lodge here in Muskegon. I've been a member of the Elks now for 3 years, and I just was elected as a trustee beginning my term in April and lasting for 3 years there. I would like to address an issue that has come to the attention of the lodge. It is concerning the use of the concrete barriers in front of our lodge to allow additional seating outside in an area that is normally used as parking during the summer. Several other businesses and organizations in the downtown area here utilize the same service. In the past, the service has been free. This year, the lodge was informed that we will now have to pay for the use of the parking spaces and the concrete barriers. Based on the information that we received from an email from the city, a fee of 50 cents per square foot will now be charged. Along with that, there will be a $400 one-time fee for delivery of the barriers and an additional charge of $35 for each barrier needed. In the past, we have used the 3 free non-metered parking spaces that are located in front of the building on 3rd Street. To use those same parking spaces now will cost us over $1,700. As you well know, the Elks is a nonprofit charity organization. All of our operating costs are paid for through donations from members and fund drives throughout the year. Since the Elks first opened up in Grand Haven in 1927, that's 95 years, and we have been in the same building since. It has given back to the community almost $2 million. We have programs that assist the veterans, the elderly in nursing homes, food and clothing drives for the less fortunate in our area, and youth programs such as the Hoop Shoot, scholarships, and other activities. We even went as far as this past year that our members, we got together a bunch of baskets and filled them up with candy and cookies and treats, and we delivered them to the local police departments during Police Week. Just one example of what the Elks does here in Grand Haven. Grand Haven High School is having their senior prom on May 7th this year. The school reached out to us to see if we could provide a safe haven for the prom goers after the prom was done. There will be food and games for any of the students that want to participate. The school will provide chaperones, but we will have volunteers there to assist them. They will be using the upstairs, the Grand Hall Inn, the lodge. And if you haven't seen that, I suggest you go up there and take a look at it. It is magnificent. The event is scheduled to last from midnight until 4 a.m. So we will have volunteers from the lodge that will be there also. We also have had several fundraisers throughout the years to assist needy families. We had a fundraiser earlier in the year to help a family in the area that had a child with severe physical disabilities. The parent had to quit their full-time jobs because of the traveling they had to do back and forth to Grand Rapids every day. Both parents worked part-time, but were having difficulties making ends meet. The Elks found out about the plight and had a Friday night dinner fundraiser to raise money. We were able to raise almost $500, which we gave to the parents to use for gas money to travel back and forth to Grand Rapids. There are many more examples of the Elks helping out to the community, but this is not exclusive to just our lodge, but is all lodges nationwide. Our motto, Elks Care, and that is what we try to live up to every day. We understand that these are difficult financial times. Everyone is affected by higher gas prices, food prices, etc. My wife and I have had to cut back on our spending and reevaluate our priorities because we're on a fixed income. We are both retired now ourselves. Local government has had to do the same thing. I am familiar with the loss of revenue from the state of Michigan that local government has experienced over the years. I was a police officer in Muskegon Township for 33 years. Part of my job was I was involved in budget planning for our department. And so I know how budgets work. And I know the difficulties that have to be made. City of Grand Haven is no exception. The loss of revenue, I'm sure, has put a strain on the city. Everyone here wants to be able to provide the same level of services that the citizens need. I understand the need to trim the budget and to increase fees to offset those losses. As I have stated before, the Elks is a nonprofit charitable organization. The approximately $1,700 that the city will be charging for the use of the barriers and parking spaces will put a huge strain on our budget. We are asking that the City Council reconsider the fee and perhaps reduce it for all nonprofit organizations such as the Elks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. And I need a motion to We've approved it already. As the agenda, I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
And I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Just one thing, Your Honor, on the minutes for April 11th, there was kind of just a quick wording change, sort of saying general under 22-117, legal landscape sounding, should read legal landscape surrounding. And then just to add a clarifying statement under the description for that item, states that Council Member Cummins asked for reassurance that the written legal opinion or other privileged information regarding adult use marijuana would not be included in any, should say, discussion on marijuana permitting. I think to help Attorney Tom Forsey indicated that the information would remain general in nature and not cross into his legal opinion, and that the ability to discuss his legal opinion and that privilege would remain. Just clarification for the minutes that discussion, just to add some more substance to that.
Do we need to vote on that, Ryan? Kelly, do we need to vote on it?
No.
You don't need to vote on that. You're gonna end up voting on the whole consent agenda,
Yeah.
and I can make those corrections right now.
Yeah, and I certainly agree with them, and Mike was the only other one here, I think, so Mike.
No, well, yeah,
Yeah, that's fine. Yep, thank you.
that's fine.
All right, any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Well, read the list, or?
Oh,
Would you like me to
sorry,
read
yes,
the
would you
consent
go
agenda?
through the agenda first? Thank you,
Sure.
Mike. And Kelly.
So we have a fairly lengthy consent agenda tonight. So item A is approve the city council meeting minutes of the special meeting closed session and regular meeting held on April 11th, 2022. I'd suggest changing that to as amended or corrected. Approve the bills memo in the amount of $377,246.32. To ratify a resolution recognizing Jennifer Holland, to approve a resolution recognizing Amy Bessinger, to approve the temporary use permit application for a smoothie hut and tables and chairs upon approval to September 30th, 2022 at 233 Washington Avenue, Sherwood Forest, to approve a 5-year license agreement from April 1st, 2022 to October 31st, 2027 with Jared Seberg to operate a charter fishing business from the Grand Haven Municipal Marina, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the necessary documents. To approve the reoccurring special event application, Waterfront Walk for Hospice, to be held at Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium on Saturday, May 7, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., in consideration to waive the park rental fee in the amount of $500. To approve the reoccurring special event application, Sounds of Summer Concert Series, to be held on Tuesday in Bolt Park from June 21 through August 2, in consideration to waive $350 in park rental fees and reduce the electric utility fee to $25 weekly. To approve the reoccurring special event application, Praised by the Pier, to host Sunday night concerts at Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium from June 19 through August 28, with consideration to waive the park rental fee of $6,000 and reduce the electricity fee to $25 weekly. To approve the reoccurring special event application, Free Friday Night Concert Series, to be held at Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium from June 16th through September 2nd. Allowed amplified sound, and consider to waive $6,000 in park rental fees and reduce the electric fee to $25. To approve the reoccurring special event application, Feast of the Strawberry Moon, on Harbor Island on June 10 and June 11 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., allowing camping and consideration to waive $2,500 in park rental fees. to approve the new special event application East End Party to be held in the East End Park and Wastewater Treatment Plant on Thursday, July 14, 2022, and allowed amplified sound. To approve the reoccurring special event application Battle on the Boardwalk to be held at Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium on August 25th through 26th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a rain date of August 27th, in consideration to waive the event fees of $1,585. To approve the reoccurring special event application YMCA Summer Day Camp and Sports Camp to be held in Mulligan's Hollow Park and Ball Diamond Green Space from Monday, June 6th through Friday, August 19th, and allowed amplified sound. Item O was removed from the consent agenda and placed under new business. So now we're picking up on item P, which is to approve the new special event application Cycle Back to Centertown to take place on May 7 in parking lot number 13th and 2 parking spaces on 7th Street for food trucks with the event time of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. To approve a resolution to place delinquent invoices in the amount of $2,564.21 for sidewalk repair, which is $156.25. Additional rental inspections, which amount to $40. Annual snowmelt maintenance in the amount of $782.46. Delinquent water sewer bills to the amount of $92.52. And delinquent BLP electric bills to the amount of $1,492.98 on the 2022 property tax bills with an 8% penalty as single lot special assessment roll 599 in accordance with section 31-13 of the city's Code of Ordinances. To approve a resolution to tentatively award the contract for construction of the proposed water system improvement project for the citywide Booker Lead Service Line Replacement Project to Waddell Stabilization of Hart, Michigan, in the revised amount of $2,999,697 and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents. And the last item on your consent agenda is to approve a resolution to amend the boundaries of the Main Street Social District Commons area to include Washington Avenue at the times when the street is closed, and expansion is approved by the Director of Public Safety and City Manager.
Okay, discussion?
Can I ask one question?
Yep.
Pat, on the license for the marina, in the contract, it says that a discount of 20% will be given to the licensee who make all payments on time. Is that standard?
We adopted that some years ago, probably 10 years ago maybe. I mean, it's been quite some time that we went from $4,000 to $5,000 with the intent of giving them back the $1,000 if they paid everything on time. So we had been having with some of the charter captains who aren't there anymore, let's say, not paying us timely, and we were chasing them around all summer. Since we put that in effect, and we were charging $4,000 a year, since we put that into effect, we're all on-time pay almost all the time every year. So it was kind of, we added 20% on, and then said, well, if you pay on time, we'll give you that back at the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a problem with them for a while there. You're right.
With delinquency?
I remember that.
Okay, on item S, which is the social district commons expansion, I just want to make a point. Is Jeremy still here? And I think I talked about Pat this morning. I think council would like, when it's ready, to get a look at the plan for the layout of the first block of Washington. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I know the mayor would like that, and I'm guessing the rest of council might like to see it as well.
It would be very helpful for us.
Yes, because we're going to need to explain it to folks, and I'd like to know what's going on. That's all I had. Anyone have anything else, Brian?
I'll just address, head on, because I'm sure folks are seeing this consent agenda and looking at the, massive amounts of fees that we're waiving for special events. And I'll, reiterate, we've talked about this before, our staff are working on some modifications to our special event policy to hopefully find ways that we're have a more standardized system for choosing to waive fees. And we understand that there's nonprofits and there's a lot of benefit from events, but we also have to balance that out with budget constraints and the real cost that these events cost. So that's something that we're working on. Our staff are working on. We knew that a last minute change this summer would cause a financial impact on events that we're already planning for the summer. But going forward, hopefully this fall we'll have some kind of policy that the council's decided on so that events can plan probably for some higher costs. I'm not saying what those costs are going to be. We don't know yet, but that is a reality. I mean, that was a significant amount of dollars. In fact, Pat, I think your proposed budget indicated that collectively I think last year waived like $75,000 in fees. So some of them, the fee structure's maybe not set up properly, or looking at things maybe the way that we want to look at them. But the other piece is that, before folks think we're just spending $3 million on new lead service lines, our staff worked hard to find grant dollars. So that's, Amy's here, worked on that too. So we got grant dollars for that. That's going to go a long way. So that's not coming out of our general fund, thanks to the hard work of our staff. So,
And I was actually encouraged to see the number go up, which is a very rare thing. But what that means is that we will be able to increase the number of lead service lines that are replaced in a more expedited period of time. So it's good for everybody. Okay. Anything further? Please call the roll, Kelly.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins?
yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Great, your consent agenda is approved. All the items on it, you're on to presentations, it looks like.
Okay. I have a presentation to make to Ms. Amy Messenger.
Oops, can you buy all your?
I asked her to put this after unfinished business tonight, but she insisted on getting it done earlier, and I was going to make you stick around. I want to keep you here.
For those of you who don't know Amy is our former finance director for the city. And she worked for the city and did an exemplary job for us. And we are very sorry to hear, but glad for her that she's moving on to a job with Spring Lake Township. Is that right? So with that in mind, I congratulate you on your new job. I offer commiserations to us on our loss, but I'd like to present this to you, please. City of Grand Haven, Michigan, proclamation recognizing Amy Lynn Bessinger. Whereas Amy Lynn Bessinger started her career in municipal finance at the City of Grand Haven as a cashier in the summer of 2007, and since then has grown into the best of class finance director in the state of Michigan. And whereas along her professional development path, she has contributed significantly to stability in the city accounting function, not only perfecting her own skills, but demonstrating leadership by developing considerable talent among her coworkers in all areas of public finance. And whereas the city finance umbrella covers much of what makes our community special and livable, including public safety, public works, parks, water treatment, sewer, emergency dispatch, revenue collection for our schools, county, museum, library, services for aging, public transportation, and infrastructure. And whereas during her tenure, Amy has supported many public investment projects, including major investments and renovations to both the water treatment and sewer plants, the airport, $30 million in public infrastructure investment, renovated lighthouses, a new catwalk, municipal fountain upgrades, a new stadium, a completely rebuilt downtown, including snow melt, several new public restrooms, and major reinvestment in all city buildings. And whereas Amy's talents have elevated and made possible all of these public services for the past 15 years, and without her able and constant support, these vast improvements would not have been possible. And whereas from Gatsby to bond sales, I don't even know what Gatsby is, but I remember reading it once. From fixed assets to charts of accounts, and from audits to budgets, Amy has taken dull fiscal detail and added understandability and color so that we could all be confident in capable public service that elevates the standard of living for every citizen. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Grand Haven recognizes Amy Bessinger for her 15 years of dedicated public service to the people of Grand Haven and wish her happiness, success, and prosperity in all future endeavors. Signed, Catherine M. McNally, Mayor. Amy, thank you so much.
By 10 shades of red. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I'm just grateful to have my career here at the city. It's been fantastic, and I'm honored to have worked for Pat and the entire city team here on the council that have mentored and guided me all along these years. And it's just been fantastic. The co-workers here on the team for the city is fantastic, and it's a great place to work and be. So thank you for my time. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, hello. I am Elizabeth Butler, and tonight we are going to be talking, you are going to be talking about extending the economic development contract with the Chamber of Commerce, and I am in the economic development director for the Chamber of Commerce. So, economic development in Northwest Ottawa County is really a shared service. So we work with the city, Grand Haven Township, Village of Spring Lake Township, and the city of Ferrysburg, and together I cover all of Northwest Ottawa County. So this is it's hard to read, but it's a high-level graph of showing who's covering the costs for the services that I'm providing. So there's a formula behind the scenes. It's done the same way every year, but each unit of government has a different share depending on what their demographics are. And then please notice that there is a sixth box up there. The Chamber of Commerce we are covering part of this cost as well. So we are partnered in this as well. So I want to give you a brief overview of what we've been doing over the past 3 years. I know we have, there's 3 new people here on council, and just give a brief update. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but I want to give you a high-level understanding of what's been going on. If you want more details, please just stop and ask me. I'm happy to talk about it. So I'm the one staying in contact with our businesses, right? During COVID, retention visits, they were different, right? I just pick up the phone call and I was talking to the business owners and the people working. Normally we go and we have, in non-COVID times, we go and we sit down, we talk and we talk about their issues and what help they need or what resources, what connections, and so that's what we're doing. Now, over the past few months, we're getting back to the non-COVID way of doing business, and so I am able to get back into these businesses and talk one-on-one, face-to-face with the business owners. So that's good. And I want to make sure that you do know that you do not need to be a member of the Chamber to take advantage of my services. Because of the 5 economic development contracts, I'm able to work with any business in Northwest Ottawa County regardless of Chamber membership. So make sure that's out there. So this is a high-level summary of some of the things, events and webinars that we've been doing over the past few years. Economic forecast, every year we bring in Dr. Paul Isley from Grand Valley, and I connect him with the businesses here, and he gets to know the businesses, feet on the street, and find out what's going on, and he does tailor a economic forecast for our area specifically, because we are unique here. I connect people with lawmakers, whether it's in Lansing or here locally or federally. We're that connection. Boomerang, that's another one where we connect. We connect about 800 students every year with local businesses, right? We want to make these connections. We want these students to fly away, go get their education, their degree, their training, and then we want them to fly back home and use those talents here. And so that's another program. So we're doing workforce development within the schools to try to grow our workforce, to grow our talent. So there's many different things that we're doing. I'm not going to go through each one of those, but those are a little sampling of what we've been doing. Meetings, we all love meetings, right? So some of the things that I do, I am a part of Region 4 is a 13-county region, and I meet every month, every other month, something like that, with all the economic developers in our region, and we coordinate with each other, we bounce stuff off each other, we communicate with each other. Property tax abatements, as those come up, I will work with area businesses to help them with the tax abatements for whatever expansion they're doing. MEDC advocacy, right? If there's businesses who need assistance from the MEDC, I'm that connection point, but also their advocate to help them. I'm on the Ottawa County ARPA committee. Ottawa County has, they got their $57 million in our ARPA funds, and so I'm one of the committee members, and I have the voice of the manufacturing community. So there's many different things that I'm working on. During COVID, one of the big things that I had been working on is financial assistance, right? Grants. This is a list of some of the different grants that we were successful in helping our area businesses get. Two of them are actually going on right now. The bottom two, the Afflicted Business Relief Grant, that just closed last month. The state is still reviewing that, but I picked up the phone and I talked to the businesses and I sent them emails of how to do it and what to do, make sure they could take advantage of those funds, and also the revitalization and placemaking grants. Pat and I are in conversations right now to see if we can't get some money from that grant as well. Overall, during COVID, our businesses got over $1 million in grants, and so I think that's pretty great. For our businesses. One of the things that I do as well, referrals. I make connections, and I call it alphabet soup, right? PTAC. So if you want to learn how to do business with the government, there's a free resource for that. Or if you want to have your business certified as veteran or woman-owned, you can go there. MMTC, that's for manufacturers. SCORE, that is for entrepreneurs or businesses that are starting up. I help, with incentives. MIOSHA, the MIOSHA training and certification or training. So there, the SBA, SBDC. So I'm referring people companies all the time when I go make those retention calls or when they come to me. A lot of people do come to me. So what's happening right now? I mentioned those two grants, the ABR and the RAP grants, working on those right now. Michigan Tech, right? We have a business here in the city of Grand Haven that invested a lot of time and money into a mechatronics program a new degree program up at Michigan Tech. We want to draw those students back here to Northwest Ottawa County, right? So we are putting together a group of businesses. We're going to go up in September. It's called Career Fest, and we're going to be in the quad, just Northwest Ottawa County businesses, right? And the chamber's going to have a booth too, and we're going to try to start having those businesses make personal connections with these kids and draw them back here, because right now they're being drawn to Appleton, Wisconsin, or Traverse City. We want to bring that talent pool here. I'm having AI conversations, affordable housing, and we talked last week about affordable housing. Last month, we took a group to Lansing for our Leadership Connect class, and we met with Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, Roger Victories, Jim Lilly. We met with Justice Bernstein as well. So we're having this class learn about State Government Day. And so those are the types of things that I'm doing for our community. And let's see. Oh yeah, did you know I'm a certified grant administrator and a notary public? Just saying that. But I wanted to thank the city of Grand Haven for your partnership and support with our economic development contracts. And you guys have been a strong partner to do this, and I just want to thank you for your support and see if you have any questions. Yeah.
Do you get involved with SBA? Do you get involved with the 7A and the 504 program?
No, that is done through Great Lakes Commercial, and so we connect them to them.
Okay, but you wouldn't help,
Yeah, I would help make that connection.
But you wouldn't help with the 7A paperwork that's...
No, that is, I believe the chamber used to do that, but that is no longer done where we're at.
And how effective is the SCORE program here?
Right now, since COVID, it has been a virtual program. We used to have 1 day a week where the SCORE counselors would be in Grand Haven. Now it's virtual, so I'm not as much hands-on as before, but those businesses, we just had a changeover in our SCORE, the SCORE leader, if you will. But I do make a lot of referrals over there, and the feedback I get is that they are happy, it's successful. And so, for those of you who don't know, so the SCORE is for, there's retired volunteers that will mentor the businesses. And so you put in your application, and then behind the scenes SCORE will match you up with the right mentor and to help you in whatever questions that you have to start up a business.
Do you mind if I...
No, keep going.
Through MEDC, does all the grants and loan programs that all funnel, I should know this, but I don't. Does all the grant and loan programs, community development block grants, so forth, run through MEDC, new market tax credits, opportunity zones, all those?
Can you restate that question?
Through MEDC?
Yeah.
Does the loan and grant programs, if they have them,
yeah.
Through community development block grant, that was kind of my background.
Yeah.
As far as new market tax credits are concerned, as opportunity zones are concerned, are all very effective. I don't think we qualify for any of them, but maybe somebody else in the area does. But is that something that funnels through MEDC? Do they take the lead on all those?
Yeah, it's different arms of the MEDC will handle those. So,
okay. Yeah, I was president of the New Markets for the state of New York, so I'm kind of familiar with it. It was a great program. It's just unfortunate we're too good to get any funds out of it. But okay, I congratulate you on trying to run economic development for 6 municipalities. I don't think it can be done, frankly. That's just my own personal. Because I lived in that life, and to do it right, I personally think we need a full-time economic development person. But I'm just one person, but thank you.
Yes, thanks for the update, Elizabeth. Just one question. I mean, it was really great for me to understand, and you reviewing all that you've done. But you put up one point there, and I just want to understand what you mean by it. Artificial intelligence, AI covers a pretty broad. How is it applied to your work here?
So there's connecting businesses with what AI is and what you can do with it, right? It's having the computers think for you, right? It's different. And a company may not know where to go if they have questions about how, if we're going into Industry 4.0, if we're going, we're automating, we're using more and more technology, who do they go to talk to? And so that's where I have a contact that is able to help businesses with AI.
So more as a point of helping them predict the future and maybe figure out how technology might be changing their business?
Doing more with less, right? One of the big issues right now is lack of employees, and so if you can use technology, they're having to use technology, and so what are the different levels of technology? Is it robots, cobots, or is it like the AI? And so what is the best fit for each company, and having that connection for that business to use?
Thank you.
No, I don't have anything to add. I think one of the things that stuck with me last week when you had asked the question or you were on the panel was that it's easy for, and it stuck with me, it's easy for us to see some of the geographical boundaries, but the businesses don't necessarily see those, and then those that want to, come here don't necessarily see the geographical boundaries. So, what's the, I guess from your position in representing so many different municipalities, is it just more of a, hey, come to Northwest Ottawa County? Is it, you're plugging them into certain locations and that you think are best fitted for them? I mean, how does that kind of work if somebody is coming to you and wants to be a business in the community?
Generally, when somebody's coming to me, a new business, they already have something in mind, right? And so I'm helping them, guide them on what could be available, how can we kind of bridge that gap to make it a possibility for them to come here. But there are times when I get a call and say, hey, I want to have a dog and brew park. Where can I do that? And I will look at the layout of Northwest Ottawa County and say, well, this might work, and this might work, and this might work, and give them the list of the different possibilities that they could consider.
Mike, you got anything?
No, I don't have nothing.
I had one quick question, Elizabeth, which was, I was interested to hear you're taking employers up to tech to recruit.
Yeah.
Do the employers have jobs for newly minted engineers coming out of tech?
They do. They do. And they're also trying to grow the talent pool, knowing that, in 6 months, a year, 2 years, these projects are coming down the pipeline, and we're going to need engineers. So let's start now and have a co-op or an apprenticeship. It doesn't have to be a full-time job right away. There's different levels.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
I think it was you that set up the GHSP tour.
I think Pat set that one up. I believe set up
I think
the
you might have
that you
given me
guys
credit
took-
for it then.
No,
So-
but I'm going to set up the next one for you guys.
Okay.
R.A. Miller would like to have you guys come tour their facility next month, and so I'm working out the date and time that works best for them. And
Okay.
you?
Well, thank you for your work on that, and I'll talk about it at the end of the meeting, but speaking of tech and engineers, I mean, just walking through GHSP today was like, I mean, wow, to run that kind of equipment and to know what it does and program it is mind-blowing, so.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I think it's fabulous that you guys want to take tours, and I would love to continue, setting those up, because I think it's very important for you guys to see and talk and listen, and yeah, it's very important.
Absolutely, you're spot on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. All right. I think we're
All right.
moving on to new business.
Yep, and item A under new business is consideration by city council of a resolution to approve a broker services agreement with Brown & Brown of Central Michigan to provide third-party health insurance administrative services in the amount of $66,000 per year for a 3-year contract term, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the necessary documents.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Fritz, second by Cummins. Discussion?
Right, Pat, when I looked at this is, I think, partially part of the answer to my question last week in the budget around Fund 677 appropriations. It was a cost savings measure, which accounted for some of the differences in the budget. Anyway, I just wanted to call it out because
Thank you.
we weren't exactly sure. There's some other things in there as well, but this obviously contributed to some of the difference in what we were seeing in the budget. So thanks.
Okay. Anybody else?
Just that, thank you for your work to find potentially $64,000 worth of savings by restructuring this agreement. So, good work.
Okay. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins?
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Great. The next item under new business is consideration by city council of a resolution to approve the 3-year Economic Development Services contract to run from October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2025 with the Chamber of Commerce of Grand Haven, Spring Lake, and Ferrisburg with the first-year investment of $26,447.82 and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the necessary documents.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Fritz, second by Cummins. Discussion?
I'm going to support this, but I still would love to someday strive to have full-time economic development, because I really believe that businesses, and especially small businesses, deserve the attention of one person. I think it's very tough to do this across a number of municipalities. So I'm going to vote for it, but hopefully we can strive for something else. Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins?
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Great. The next item under new business, item C, is consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve an introductory resolution to amend sections 40-411.02.d, section 40-411.02.g, section 40-411.03, and figure 14 and figure 14 keep doing this, and figure 4-14 of the Grand Haven zoning ordinance, and amend the side yard setback and number of stories for non-residential uses in the NMU Neighborhood Mixed Use District. And Planning Commission does recommend approval of this item.
Can I get a motion to this effect?
So moved.
There's
Second.
support. Motion by Cummins, second by McLaughlin. Discussion?
I'm good with this.
Can the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Cummins?
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Great. You are on to item D under new business, which is consideration by the City Council of an introductory resolution to amend sections 40-402.01, section 40-402.02, section 40-408.02.c, section 40-409.02, sections 40-410.02, section 40-411.02.c, section 40-411.02.e, section 40-412.02, figures 4-9, 4-10, 4-11, 4-13, 4-15A, and 4-16 of the Grand Haven zoning ordinances to increase lot width, lot area, and side yard setbacks in the S, E, OT, NMU, and OS districts, and to require a special land use permit for 2-unit dwellings in the E, OT, and OS districts. Planning Commission does recommend approval of this item.
Discussion? Pardon me. Can I get a motion to that effect? I'm working on it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Fritz, second by McLaughlin. Discussion?
I want to thank the Planning Commission and Jennifer Howland for getting this finally together. We all, we're really concerned about this over the last 6 months, and I'm glad that the planning commission took it on, and I just want to thank, although Jennifer isn't here, but to thank Jennifer and the planning commission for putting this together, because I think it was important to a lot of people in the community, not just city council and the planning commission.
I think for those of you who don't know what this is, it's a rollback of some of the zoning changes that were made in January of 2021. And it basically restores the standards we had for lot width, setbacks, lot sizes, and some of the other issues that are, as Councilmember McLaughlin says, important to people in our town. We've struggled as a community to try to foster opportunities for affordable housing and even for housing at different price points, and balance that with the nature and character of our community and the people who are already here who are trying to enjoy and protect what they have. And we don't always get the balance perfectly, but this was our opportunity to try to step back a little bit from what I would say were some choices that were changes that the community wasn't ready for. So I also think the Planning Commission did a great job, and Jennifer getting it back to us, and I appreciate, Pat, you getting it back to us as well. So anything further?
Yeah, I'll just say, I think the way I'd put it is, I think we're finding the right balance of incremental change. And really this represents some compromise from all of us as well, but I think, we've saw some incremental changes in allowing for some smaller unit sizes, a variety of housing types, by more so a special land use versus just a permitted use. So I think this struck the right balance, and I also want to thank our planning commission and our staff for all their work. It's been, this one's been a couple of years worth, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, both of you guys. I tell you, we sent it back to them. They did a fine job of fine-tuning it for us, making it get back so that we have something in front of us that we can actually see. I want to commend them on doing their job and doing a very good job at it and looking it all over as long as they did. It's been a while since we sent it to them, but I tell you what, they did look it over. They did a fantastic job of getting all the details. So I want to say thank you to the Planning Commission also, and staff and everybody else. And Jennifer's no longer with us, so we just got to give her a kudos for it, say thank her very much.
Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Great. The next item on new business is consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve an increase in seasonal wages for the remainder of the fiscal year 2022-23 as presented in the revised wage scale.
I'll make that motion.
Yep.
I'll second it.
Motion by Cummins, second by Fritz. I think we all understand the issue. I'd just like to tell everyone present and everyone listening that we need some seasonal hires to work this summer. Derek, come on up and you can give the real pitch, but if you know somebody who is looking for a good, active, largely outdoor but not entirely outdoor job, send them Derek Gatos' way. Derek, please, Public Works Director.
Thank you, Your Honor. Derek Gatos, Public Works Director. Yes, we're really challenged right now to try and find enough seasonal help to do all the services that we give our residents and our visitors. And so Char Sese also employs a tremendous amount of seasonal employees, and we're a little over halfway there now. The trouble we're finding is we've got competitors. We raised our seasonal rates in January or so before everybody else did. So we thought we were catching up, and turns out they raised their rates, their wages incrementally after us. So we've had numerous employee offers that have turned us down and said, we'd love to come work for you, but I can't turn down an extra $1, $2 an hour. So hopefully this will help us entice some of those to stay. And yes, please come see me or go on our website, right on the front page, we need a bunch of seasonals. It's a great work serving our community, and it looks great. The waterfront, all our parks, and our marina, and yeah. So with your blessing, council, we're not going to anticipate any budget amendments for this. We don't think we're going to fill all the jobs. So let's get through this year, and then we'll rearrange or say evaluate those wages in the next budget year as well.
I appreciate it, Derek, and I will note that there are many businesses in this town that depend upon seasonal employees, and it's largely, often, students, and for a variety of reasons, but I would say mostly COVID, it interrupted a cycle of employment that's existed for decades, maybe for hundreds of years, where there was seasonal employment for students and they came for it, and COVID interrupted that, and it left us without, usually, I know the city does, and I know many of the small businesses train kids that come back year after year while they're in school, and so the interruption of the last 2 summers has really disrupted the normal pattern of work. So if you know anybody, you got a kid, you think he needs a job, or she, encourage them. That's all I'm going to say.
You know, Derek, I happened to go by a McDonald's, I can't remember where it was, and they had a sign out for $20 an hour. I said, I know it's your challenge. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable for you to try to get help, and hopefully extra buck works for you.
Yes.
Hey, Derek, I just have a couple of questions on that. So we're 50%, we've hired 50% of the seasonal hires so far. Usually at this point in the year, do you have 75% or 80% of them hired, or is it usually around 50 as well?
No, we're usually 100% staffed by this time.
Okay. And ballpark figure again, I don't know if Ashley, you or Pat know this, but what's the total number of seasonal hires that we hire in this?
35?
Yeah, so we hire about 25, 28. I think Shar's another 16. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, pushing 40.
40.
Good, thank you.
Anything further?
Just that Derek's line here in your memo, I think is important as the public hears this too, that please be, as we're dealing with these staffing shortages, like everywhere else, please be patient with our service deliveries. I have faith that they're going to do their best to keep our town still looking great and do that hard work, but it just may be delayed more so than what we're used to. So,
Good point, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. All right, would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins?
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Great. You have one more item under new business. It's the item that was removed from your consent agenda, and that is to approve the new special event application, Digitally Visual Music Entertainment, to be held at Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium on Saturdays, up to 6 times throughout the summer on the following days: May 11, 21, 28, July 11, 23, and September 10, and to allow amplified sound.
Okay, we pulled that off the consent agenda.
Yep.
Mike, you want to start?
I'll make a motion to start out with, so we can discuss it.
A motion to approve it?
Well, we have to discuss it.
Okay,
We have to make a motion first.
yes?
I'll second it for discussion.
There you go.
So,
That's reasonable.
motion by Fritz, second by McLaughlin.
Yeah, I pulled it off because I've never seen nothing like this before, and I just want to know what it looks like before I approve something. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you. Anybody had any kind of experience with this on
think-
council?
Yeah, I think Char's here.
I just want to see what it's about, and I know it's in the morning, so it's not going to be too bad, but I have no idea what it is. What's it look like? And there's nothing in here showing me, just telling me what it is, but I'd like...
Sure. Shar Sese, Community Affairs Manager for the City of Green Haven. This is a new event, and it is, I think, an evolving event. The individual applicant explained it like this. We had an event at one point in time where they did the silent disco. It would be that type of thing. It could be an interactive game where the individual is like hosting a game show night, that type of activity. All of his ideas are that type of thing, sort of an interactive activity for the waterfront stadium.
I happened to watch the recording of the Parks and Rec board meeting where he presented, and Pat, did you say he was standing by on telephone? Was that?
No, I don't think he is.
Okay, all right. What I would say is he is a DJ who wants to share his talent with the community. That's basically what he said. And he's worked with soccer in the sand. He said he's worked at the Kirby. He's got a broad range of programming he can do. But it seemed to me what he was asking, he asked that the fees be waived. He wanted to fill every Saturday that wasn't otherwise filled, is what he, I think, was initially asking. Right. And so some of the issues I have, I think that it could be interesting and it could be fun, but I guess the question is how much programming we want to do down on the waterfront. And Pat, you had something about to say about
I just wanted to mention, having been here from the development of the new waterfront stadium, and we knew we'd get a lot of positive attention and a lot of demand for that space. And City Council was very intentional and deliberate in saying we don't want it to be something that has programming every night, that there should be some nights where it's just passive. Because there would naturally be a demand, because there's so many people down there that if you don't put some cap on it, eventually you're going to have 7 nights a week all summer long people using that space because there's just significant eyeballs on it. So it's commercially very attractive. So we started out with I think Wednesday nights. They'd always done the dancing on the Grand. Now it's music on the Grand. So that's every Wednesday night. I think starting middle of June and going through middle of August, more or less. And then, of course, worship on the waterfront was there, and that converted into Praise by the Pier. Yep. So that's still a deal. It's on. You approved it tonight, I think, or maybe last time.
We did.
So that was Sunday night. Right. Again, about the same dates, middle of June through middle of August, every Sunday night. Friday night concerts came along last year, free concerts every Friday night, about the same time frame, premium weeks, around 10 weeks. So that's about 30 nights right there between those 3 different nights every week. Of course, Tuesdays in the park you have going on, but that's not at the stadium. And then Coast Guard's about 7 nights of entertainment.
It starts July 29 and goes through the 6th, that Saturday.
So 8 nights.
Yeah.
So 8 nights of Coast Guard, so now you're up to 38. And then you City Council approved 4 concerts for the summer sessions.
And she has them all identified.
She has all 4 of them set up, so there's 4 more.
Plus,
and so,
did we say the Friday night concerts?
Yeah, every Friday. Yep. And then there's some other various things that have found their way in, but the point being that eventually each time a new one's come, it's kind of, okay, well, I think this is it for this summer. We might not want to go much further. Now, it's not a morning event. He put in his application that he wants to set up at 7 a.m.
I see what it says here, but on the other application it said a.m. on it.
It says 7 a.m. but it goes from 6 till 9 p.m.
Yep.
He was looking for 4-hour blocks is
Yeah.
what he was talking about at the
has
Parks and Rec Board meeting.
Has
Pardon?
to be a typo. So yeah, it's an evening event, not a daytime event.
And a 4-hour block. And here's the thing. It might be something that appeals to a different audience than the other things we have, which I think might be worth considering. It seems to me it gives free exposure to him in his DJ business, so it might not be entirely altruistic, but that's not a terrible thing. So those are kind of the issues, and I guess I'm interested in what people think.
Did the Parks and Recreation Board approve this?
They did. They recommended it 3 to 1 for approval.
And did they formally recommend that they are recommending a waiver of fees, or did they not recommend that?
At that, yes, it was a recommendation for the waiver of fees, 3 to 1.
I thought it was a recommendation against waiver.
Not to?
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies. My recommendation would be that as well. That the applicant knows that fees are being looked at right now. So every new applicant that we have coming in for a special event, I quote them all of the fees as they are. And in this situation, again, like most individuals, I don't think that the events would be able to take place if fees weren't waived. And I do think definitely your job is going to be easier if we can get that formula together for you so you don't have to struggle with these each time you come.
Yeah, I think, I'm not, I've heard some back and forth on our Parks and Rec Board making recommendations on fees, and I don't know that's always been clear to me, at least in the memos, whether that they made those recommendations, and really, I don't know that's their role. It's the council that sets the fees. It's really, our prerogative. They should just focus on whether or not the event should be approved for the space that they want to use and look at, those particular details. I don't think they should have those kinds of pressures on them. This sounds like a for-profit type of a business. I guess I'd like to maybe hear from the applicant if he wants to come in and explain a little bit more and flesh out a little more detail as far as exactly what kind of programming he's thinking before maybe a decision is made. I think as we look at our fee schedule, that might have an impact on use of some of these spaces and how many event requests we get. I will say there's a lot of communities that would love to have these types of entertainment options and activity during the warmer months and have other folks be willing to step up to plan these types of activities to put them on. So I don't want to, we have a musical fountain every night that provides entertainment too. So it's finding that balance. I understand that. I get that. But I think the fee part is probably going to help with this a lot maybe in the next year. But if we could hear from this gentleman maybe at our next meeting, I'd be in favor of that before making a decision.
Oh, I have to agree with it also. And also it comes to, I don't know where it started, but having our Parks and Rec Board make recommendations on the fees, it's always been us on council. When I hear it's always been us to say yes or no to it. It's not their responsibility. They're just making a recommendation on just the program itself that's coming through to us, coming from the parks. They say yes or no. And then if they want to waiver the fees, they had to come to council to do it. So I really don't think that it's their responsibility to be setting a fee structure. And that's our responsibility here, setting the fees, if we want to waive it or not. They have to just okay the event. Does the event fit into what we have? And if they figure it works good for the parks, that's what they should be doing. That is their job to do. It's not for them to do the financials of it. The financial sits right here with us. I don't think it goes any further. It makes it so much easier for them. I watched the meeting in that, and I see where they were struggling with it, and I think for them to do that is not good. They shouldn't be setting the fees. It's our responsibility here. That's what we're supposed to be doing here. So,
I have a question. I mean, I don't know if we might want to consider Shar, maybe not. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different dates that he'd like to book. Maybe people would be more comfortable with this fewer number to try out, maybe half that number, since it's something new. And it's just a suggestion that maybe, since none of us seem to know what it really is.
I think in the end, the Parks and Rec Board might have said 2. I think they might have, that they basically were saying that's a lot of programming. Maybe we say 2 and figure out who he is and what he's doing and whether it suits our waterfront.
Right. I think it's finding that balance, as Councilmember Fritz said.
I would support asking him to come in and explain what he's doing and what kind of programming. And I think some of it was interactive, but some of it sounded like it was also music choices. And I was describing this to someone recently, but rightly or wrongly, and I would probably say wrongly, whether if I'm down on the riverfront walking and someone's playing music, if it's music I like it. And if it's music that I don't like, I'm like, well, why are they playing music? So there is a time for quiet down on the riverfront, but there's also, as Ryan says, it's a question to me of whether we are reaching event saturation. to some extent. And maybe in your world, there isn't such a thing, but I don't know. I think we have, as I heard her say at the meeting the other day, we have more events than anybody else, and we have more than our share, or at least we have a great number, so.
And just so that council's aware, the applicant wasn't able to be here tonight, or otherwise he would have been. He was out of town. So I will invite him to
I saw
come.
something in the write-up that said he was available by phone, but I must have.
He wanted to be, but was not able.
Okay.
So you think next Monday might work for him?
I think it would.
Because we have a meeting right away next Monday, so.
Put him on next Monday's
Got it.
agenda, and we'll see.
I'll email him now and we'll find out.
Is that all right?
I think that
Are we
works.
amending to postpone the decision
Yes,
on that?
that's a good question, Karen. So, we're going to postpone action on this item, and put it back on the agenda next Monday. And if you can't make it next Monday, we could slide it, right?
Yep, would you, someone like to make a motion, second that?
I'll make the motion to
Second.
postpone it. Here you go. Thank you, Kevin.
Got it, Kelly?
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Shar. Would you call the roll?
Yep. That would be Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
and Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Okay, and that's postponed till May 2nd. The next item on your agenda is unfinished business, item A, which is consideration of a final resolution to approve an amendment to the approved plan development for Nodos at the Bill Maher, located at 1223 South Harbor Drive, parcel number 70-03-29-312-004, to construct a conference room / bridal lounge addition and second-story deck and enclose an existing 3-season patio.
All right, I would entertain a motion to that effect, and then I think we got some discussing.
So moved.
And second.
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Fritz. And if it's all right with you gentlemen, I'm going to first identify that Councilmember Lowe has previously identified a conflict of interest regarding this matter and has withdrawn from the podium, I don't know what you call it, the bench, just to make sure that people understand she has abstained. And I think, do we, Kelly, have to go back through the abstention vote again?
It would be better for you to do that, yes.
Okay, so can I get a motion to that effect?
So move. Second.
Any discussion? Could the clerk call the roll on a motion to allow Councilmember Lowe to abstain on this vote?
Yep. Councilmember Cummins,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Your extension's noted.
Okay, and I'm going to move on, if it's all right. I'm going to start by thanking everyone for their patience in the process to consider the Nodos project. I know it's an issue that matters a great deal to the Nodo family, to the community in general, to the Highland Park community, and to specific property owners and residents in Highland Park who are personally affected by the decision. I'd next like to say that this whole thing has been a vetting process that tries to equitably balance diverse interests, and frankly, I don't think it's gone all that smoothly in this case. There's an update from the city I'd like to provide to everyone who's here. City Council asked our city attorney to take another look at the 2007 consent judgment's requirements, both at the city's obligations as a party to the judgment and at the Nodo family's rights as a successor in interest to Mr. Maher, and thus bound by the terms of the consent judgment. Our city attorney concluded that the appropriate way to proceed with any present or future improvements to the property is the same way the 2018 construction was accomplished, with the approval of all parties to the 2007 litigation. I think as council, we have to discuss the best way, the best course of action that before us, and I would suggest we have a couple of options. One is to formally vote to approve or deny Mr. Nodo's application, and the other would be to vote to postpone action on Mr. Noto's application until it comes back to us incorporating written concurrence from parties to the 2007 consent judgment. So I'm open to either of those and would entertain a motion.
This is a tough one.
This is a tough one.
I was fully prepared tonight to vote yes for this, this resolution. I read thousands of emails and so forth, and about parking and views and so forth, and I was going to vote yes on this. But unfortunately, by what our attorney has provided us today, I don't know how we can do that as a city, and possibly a lawsuit against the city itself. So I guess we can postpone it or vote it down, or I would personally like to postpone it until we get the recommended documentation that our attorney's looking for, but I think we have to have some date certain, because I don't think it can sit here forever.
Yeah, here's what I guess the question is. If we vote it down, I believe that if there's some future project that's similar, that Mr. Noto does get concurrence from the other parties to the consent judgment on, he probably has to start all over and go through the Planning Commission and come up through. So if we vote to postpone it and give it a date, it gives the Noto family an opportunity to consult with the parties to the consent judgment and see if there's a compromise position or what the possibilities are. So it seems to me either of those is appropriate, and depending on what comes back, if it comes back, they may have to go back through Planning Commission anyway if it's a substantial change. But I guess I would support the postponement rather than the denial. Is that the right word, denial? Yeah. So that if there is a position on which the parties to the consent judgment can agree, it might come back to us.
I hope that can happen. I mean, he started out wanting to put an apartment there, and he got pushed back on that, and so I don't know if anybody's going to be pleased. So I think this will be very tough. But
Ryan, have you got anything?
Well, I'll say, this hasn't been handled in the best way for anybody involved, and really the buck stops with us. When this first came to us, we passed it, went to a second reading, and then when it came for second reading, there were some things related to consent agreement that we weren't completely up to speed on. We asked for an attorney's opinion to make sure everything lined up. We didn't probably get the most complete opinion that we needed until today, unfortunately. But ultimately, that buck stops right here with the four of us. So, quite frankly, I apologize to everybody that's been involved with this, because this has been, I think, probably a stressful time for all of you and frustrating, and for us too. And I'm trying to balance out, Pat, and I don't know if this is something that you can answer or something, there's some due process rights that the Notos have related to their plan development requests that I don't want to interfere with any potential timelines or issues with that, to make sure that that's dealt with timely. I assume that because there is a consent judgment in place here, that having a requirement that there be some agreement between the consent agreement parties is allowable and not going to interfere with that other plan development decision that needs to be made at some point. I guess my question is, can we just postpone indefinitely until something is done, a plan development approval or not? And if I'm not asking that very clearly,
No,
please let me know.
you are, and you've postponed it, I believe, twice before. The second reading, was introduced and then now postponed twice. This will be a third time, but I think, the other two times, it seemed like it was ripe to be approved, and we postponed it because there were concerns issued about, was it right to approve it? And now sounds like maybe there's an inclination to not approve it, but there's some concerns about, well, did we give due process to the applicant? So I don't think it would be inappropriate to delay it again, until May 16th or something, and give the applicant time to either show why they think the proposed plan development amendment does comport with the consent judgment, or in the alternative, get the agreements like they got in 2018, or at least report back to you that, here's what they're doing, and perhaps there are some concessions, because that was a compromise in 2007. There was a much bigger project proposed, and then the parties got together and downsized and said, okay, that'll work. And that's where the consent judgment came from. So perhaps the same model could be followed now. But by you voting tonight, if you denied it, that's the end of it. Right. And should they want to start over again, they would literally have to start over from square one. But if you give them the delay, well, then they could pick it back up where it is now if the proper documentation is provided and it satisfies you.
Right. I'm just trying to decide what that proper date might be.
Right, I have to say May 16th doesn't sound like enough time to do what's likely gonna need to be done. I would at least give 2 months. I mean, if they wanna come back sooner and they've got what they need to present, I think we can put it on the agenda sooner, but I think that it's going to take coordination among multiple parties and probably multiple attorneys and I think that's going to take 2 months.
So June 20th would be the second meeting in June, I believe.
Yeah, it doesn't matter for me. I was with Kevin here. I was all in favor until you started getting the lawyers all involved. And I tell you what happens is, first year lawyer gives you an opinion in one way, then all of a sudden today we got a totally different one, and then we got another lawyer. So every time, no offense to you guys lawyers, I know you guys are lawyers, but sometimes we get too much involved with them sometimes, and it really confuses you. And today was very confusing because it was totally different from what was brought to us before, and it's not what we asked for that before. We didn't get. We got a different answer. And it really confuses us, but so my thing is that we need to.
The question you ask your lawyer, it gets answered.
Yeah.
And I think the questions we asked were answered accurately, but I think we needed a different question. And
well, anyways, we got the final came up to what it is, and it's all deals with a consent agreement. And I'm in favor of postponing this. I don't think they need to have them go back through it if we.
No, I don't think that'd be fair at all.
That wouldn't be fair to them.
Right.
Well, if you want, I'll make a motion to postpone this until June 20th, and that the notables either obtain approval from the 2007 litigants for the 2022 improvements, or revise the 2022 improvements to obtain that approval, or explain to the council why approval of the 2022 improvements is not required after approval of the 2018 improvements was required per the 2007 litigation. If that information is obtained sooner, we can return to the council sooner than that June 20th date.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
No.
You got what you need, Kelly?
Would you be able to send me that if you have it written down?
Yes.
Okay, then yes, I do. I missed a few words, I just want to make sure it's correct.
I will make sure you have the...
Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins,
Yes.
and Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Great. So your next item on your agenda, under unfinished business, is consideration by City Council of a resolution directing staff to provide a recommendation on the creation and structure of a Sustainability and Energy Commission, a citizen commission under the city charter and responsible to the City Council.
Can we get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And second.
Motion by Lowe, second by Fritz. Karen, you want to lead the discussion on this one? I think you
Sure.
put it on the agenda.
Yes, I did. We've had, City Council has had a number of very intelligent and passionate citizens in our community who know a lot more about energy than certainly I do, but have continued to come, I think probably for certainly longer than I've been here, asking for us to create a sustainability and energy plan. More recently, though, from a practical standpoint, some of these folks, and thinking about how to harness that energy, I wondered if we needed a Sustainability and Energy Commission that we could task with getting started by putting together a community energy plan. And this is something that we've heard from a number of people, Brittany, Patty Nelson, David Mann, Ryan Cotton. They continue to come to meetings asking for this. Your Honor, the way I wrote this resolution was really directing staff to provide a recommendation on how to structure that and come back, to us with that, so that they could consider how that needed to be structured. But I felt like there's no time like the present to harness the energy and the excitement and the willingness of some of our community members who, again, know a lot more about energy than I do, to get started on this so that the onus doesn't fall again on City Council. So that's where the impetus was for that.
Any further discussion?
No, I think I agree with Councilwoman that this is something that I think we all have strived for. I think this is important, especially that we need some type of structure. At the budget hearing the other night, Mr. Cotton came and asked for $25,000. It was kind of split on how everybody thought about that $25,000, but I think that this commission has to be put together, from my opinion anyways, to really make the recommendation to us on the $25,000, how we move forward. So I think it's really important that we put this together.
Anything else?
No, I agree with the comments, and I appreciate that this is, we're going to have staff provide a recommendation on the best way to set this up. There's charter implications. We have certain boards and commissions that we've created by ordinance, and so I look forward to their ideas and recommendations as to the structure and that piece.
I'm just going to remind everyone, and it's not a reflection on this particular board or commission, but boards and commissions eat up staff time. And so we have to be sensitive to the temptation to proliferate them, let's just say. And I think other than that,
Pat, there's a natural resources commission that I don't think ever gets together. They seem like it'll be postponed.
They convened last week for the first time.
Oh, they did?
In some time, yeah, and sort of re-energized a little bit with the specter of Harbor Island out there, and paid attention to that and had a lot of discussion. Eric Law is the staff liaison. So I think it's a good idea to make this resolution so that I get a formal report back to you to give you a little bit of the history of where that one came from, who's on it, why maybe they haven't met as much, and what options you have, so, and what the staffing might be, what we might want to do, because if you're going to make it meaningful, you need somebody following up in between meetings and bringing things back. So I think it's great that you give us a couple weeks to put together our thoughts in a memo and present it at maybe the May 2nd meeting, maybe the May 16th meeting.
That'd be fine. Thank you.
Wonderful.
could the clerk please call the roll?
I have one apology. I was logging into my email to make sure that I got what we needed, so I just need to know who made that motion,
Made
who
the motion?
seconded it.
I note?
I think I made the motion and
I seconded it.
Councilmember Fritz seconded it.
Great.
All right, so Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins,
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin,
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Great. So you have one more item, item C, under old business, and that is consideration by City Council of a resolution to introduce a buy-sell agreement with CL Lakewood to transfer ownership of the diesel plant property at a sale price of $1 million for the redevelopment of the property as a restaurant and event center, and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents.
So move.
Second.
McLaughlin and Fritz. Discussion?
I just had a couple follow-up questions, because I just wanted you to remind me again, Pat. What is the monthly or annual maintenance cost on that building? Or what are our costs? I just remember a number being discussed early on, maybe in our January meeting.
Yeah, I think Derek took off, so, the,
50,000.
yeah, I think we said,
It's around
so far
50.
we're into it for about 50, and we're thinking it'll probably be about 50 per year.
Just 50 per year, okay. I
Yeah,
just wanted
yeah.
to get the, get some of the numbers, okay. And it seemed to me that in the presentation that they have looked at how to maybe condense the timeline to close on this. Is that correct? Did I hear something? I thought I heard something in their presentation to you when I
I think it was about
video.
accelerating the 3 years
It was a 3 or 4 years, and I
well,
thought they kind of
yeah, the
tried
3
to get
years
it
was to
For due
finish
diligence?
construction.
Oh.
And I think that basically they said they intend to sequence the diesel plant first and intend to move out on it, but they put the 3 years in case they needed it, but they did not expect to need it. That's
Okay.
pretty much what I believe they said.
All right, that was it.
From my perspective, I think, going all the way back, a year, I was not in favor of this project. I was really concerned about the parking, and how, the event center and hopefully the restaurant. I would not support the BOP offices in there, frankly. I think a restaurant would be pretty dynamic in there. But after their presentation, I guess I disagree with Mr. Hagan. I've really changed my mind. I really think that this could be a pretty dynamic project. We know that the appraisal came in higher than this. We have offers higher than this. I hope that, if the developers come before us with any type of tax breaks, that we take a very hard look at that, because I think we've given enough tax breaks over the years. And I think in reducing what I think an asking price should be a little bit more, that we take a hard look at any type of incentives that we would give as a city when it comes to property taxes. We can use every cent we get, and we don't need it deferred over the next 30 years, to be very honest with you.
Mike?
I think I've said enough on it already. I've been on this thing for a couple of years now, but I'm ready to move forward with it. They'd answered a lot of the questions that we asked them and that, so. And I'm with Kevin. I think it's going to be a dynamic and fantastic place. I love the building. I like the exterior the way it is, and want to move forward with it.
Right?
Well, I've said through this process that this was going to require some give and take. And I think there's been some give and take here. There's some things I'm not 100% satisfied with or happy with, but that's the nature of compromise. I think the biggest thing that I heard, though, throughout this whole process, and it's been a long one, and I appreciate everybody's patience as we've gone through it, is that folks wanted, that building saved, or at least the shell of it saved. And so we've been, we now have a covenant to preserve that will preserve and leave completely intact at least the western and southern facades. from a historical standpoint, that's significant, and that absent a natural disaster, that preservation of the existing building for a minimum of 50 years is placed into these documents, and that covenant shall endure and be applied to any successor interests in the property. So whether they own it or someone else does, we're preserving that building, which was, I think, the ultimate goal that folks had. There certainly were some concerns that folks had about condos. Well, the building itself isn't going to have condos. Just like anybody that buys property and has certain space on it, they may choose to do something in the future with it. So in some respects, I appreciate CL Lakewood raising that's something that they may have an interest in doing, but we've asked them and they've advised us they're not asking for any zoning variances, they're not asking for any planned development zoning changes. So if they're to build or propose building anything along those lines, they'll have to go through our planning commission process, and our planning commission will have to make an appropriate decision on what, if they believe that that's appropriate for that site and that it meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance. So I think we're ready to move forward. We've accomplished, I think, the biggest goal here, like I said, which was preservation of that building.
Karen?
I think that's right. I agree with everything that's been said. And again, I think we're turning this back to the planning. We would be turning this back to the planning commission. They're not through that process yet to address some of the parking issues that have been identified by residents.
I think it's important that people realize that CL Lakewood was approved by a previous city council. They've gone through a planning commission approval, and for us to say no to this now, I think we'd have to open up the whole process again. It's not like we can just hand it to another developer. We'd have to open up the whole process. I think Pat and I had talked about that, and it would just set us back a year, let's be honest. So that's why I'm recommending that we approve this.
Right. I should have added too the other language that was added into this agreement along the concerns related to condos is that nothing else can be built until the renovation and preservation work on the principal structure, so the actual diesel plant itself has been substantially completed. So that occurs before anything else, and that went a long way for me.
I also asked Pat to talk to CL Lakewood about the, did you manage to do that, Pat?
I did get some feedback from them. I asked them what they thought about that, and they felt that that it was already addressed in there. But I think if you do introduce this tonight, between now and the next meeting, I'll reduce what we talked about to writing and get it out to everybody, and make sure that that's clearly evident, and then we can make that adjustment in the final reading if indeed they agree to it. And I think they will. There's a clause in Exhibit B that states,
I can read it to
yeah,
you.
please,
Yeah, it's
please,
paragraph, it's provision 3 in paragraph B of Exhibit B, and it says, "Buyer shall have the right to include additional structures and uses in the project not in the buyer's original plan, such as rooftop structures and venues, other exterior event venue structures, and other exterior event spaces on the property." So my question to Pat was, is this going to be a PD? And he said he thought they had it structured so that it would basically meet zoning requirements and wouldn't need to be a PD. And I said, well, if it's going to meet zoning requirements, that doesn't need to be in there. And if it's not going to meet zoning requirements and it's going to be a PD, I'd rather we get a chance to look at those things. Because I was at the public hearing on this at the Planning Commission, just listening, and it was a big issue for the outdoor. So if they meet zoning requirements, I don't really have any qualms about what they do. But if they're going to come in and ask for a PD, I would like everything to be on the table as it usually is. That's kind of how I.
I'm pretty sure he said to us that he was going to follow the existing zoning on it. That's how I understood it. So.
Okay, and
I'll just make sure that that's all everybody's clear understanding. Even if we have to put a clause following that, this does not, have any impact on the approval of a planned development, or is not to imply that that would be approved or something like that. because, you know, the sentence goes on after.
It does.
Kathy stopped, it does say, to the extent they do not create a nonconformity with the zoning laws. So they got, that's what they came back with when I emailed them that. They said, well, I think we covered that in the next sentence. I'm like, well, okay, then we could strike the whole thing.
Right,
And it's
that's
still,
what-
you know,
yeah.
it goes without saying, you're gonna abide by the zoning laws.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's,
Environmental
that was
laws
my,
too, you know.
yeah, that was, I wanted to make a couple other comments, which were, literally the night before Karen, Kevin, and I were elected, I sat on one of those benches and listened to Ryan ask the city council to delay this vote, because there were new people coming in, or potentially new people coming in, and he didn't want to saddle, a new council with a decision that they might not agree with when it was such a major decision. And I sat in that seat and said, no, just vote on it. Just vote on it. Please just vote on it, because honestly, it would have been simpler. But I want to commend Councilmember Cummins, because I think it was the right thing to do. I think it showed a lot of courage. I would have preferred you vote. I'm like, I'm going to have to read all that. But it's an interesting question. Value is an interesting question, because we are not necessarily getting the most money for this, and we are a city right now that everyone knows we need money, all right? But I think in future years, we are going to be glad that we diversified our waterfront a little more, because I think there are already a fair number of condominiums, and I actually think if you look at what's sort of beyond Butch's and all those little cottages that are out to the lake, someday those are going to be condominiums as well. And the fact that we use a public piece of property to diversify our waterfront a little bit. I'm not a big fan of converting public property to private property, but in this case, we don't have the money to preserve the building, and we can use the tax money as it's converted. So I think there isn't a perfect answer to this, but I think everybody who sits here gave it their best shot, and I'm actually really encouraged to think we're pretty much aligned on it. So that's what I'd like to say. Are we good? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Cummins?
Yes.
Councilmember McLaughlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Mayor McDally?
Yes.
That concludes your unfinished business. You're on to reports by the city council.
Okay. I want to start with Councilmember Fritz.
Well, first of all, I want to say is thank you guys for having a full crew tonight. And Councilmember Lowe, well, I'm going to say thank you for Miss Lowe there, because she was sick the last time.
She was.
Yes, she was.
And I tell you what.
Regular, but I was here last week for the budget review,
Yeah,
sir.
but I'm glad to see everybody back here.
So rub it in a little bit more, Karen, that's okay.
And also, I just got a report is that we've been putting these fiber optic boxes around, and if you notice where all the waters run, it's all been washing out. And if you look around them, make them come back and kind of clean up their messes a little bit. I've seen a whole lot of that as I walked around town, especially if you go over here by public safety. I think there's a washout right here on the hill. It comes down. Also on 3rd Street on the corner, there's a washout where somebody did some work at one time, and it's like, I think it's almost like 2 feet deep now. The water just keeps running in there. So, but take a look at, if the guys are out and around, have them take a look at those, and make sure that the companies that are doing this are maintaining it and making sure that they come back and double check and make sure that's not an eyesore like a lot of them are. I think it's fiber optics. I think that's what they're putting in, isn't it, Pat?
Yeah, so is it 3rd and Columbus, or?
No, 3rd and Clinton by me.
3rd and Clinton, okay.
Yeah, but if you look around from right over here, I think on the hill here, you'll see where they washed out. It's not compacted or something, or the water runs in, or it just runs right out of those boxes and that. And also, I had the opportunity, I call it once in a lifetime opportunity. You know I'm a big Tiger fan, so when they had the rain delay on Friday night, and we bought tickets right away, we got to get to go to the game, and I got to see Miggy hit his 3,000th hit, but
nice.
And he's in a class all of his own, I tell you. this ball player you'll never ever see in your lifetime again. I don't think any of what he has accomplished in his lifetime, I got it here somewhere, but you take it, he's got over 3,000 hits, you got 500 homers, 600 doubles, 2 MVP awards, home run titles, batting titles, plus above any of the other players that he's with, he's also got the Triple Crown.
Wow.
So I want to say congratulations. It was an absolutely fantastic day, and I was glad to see it. And Detroit was just hopping down there. It was crazy. And I also went to the book fair, and that was well attended. I want to say thank you to, is it Brilliance and Amazon that goes together with it? And I tell you what, they had some great books there. They also had an author there signing his kids' books, and it was really good. So absolutely good. And I want to say thank you to the guys for fixing the potholes again. We still got more out there. Get out there and just, if you guys see it, if you see a big pothole, see Click Fix and send it right on to them and that. And parking, I agree. I did the same survey you did. I went down and talked to business owners, and I got the same results. So there's a time and a place for it, and that's what I think.
I'm going to let, yes.
Gary?
Good.
Ryan?
Just a few things. The gentleman that spoke about the status of council considering recreational marijuana. The council that has not made a decision on recreational marijuana. We sent to our planning commission a request to take a look at that. They've done their work on that and made a recommendation to the council if we were to approve it. Our city attorney's office has provided a legal memorandum on the legal landscape, so we have that now. I believe our staff are still working on the regulatory ordinance. We've had some changes in staff and some turnover that we're working through. In fact, I think we were hoping to have this back to us in April, and this is a perfect example of take the time that you need to get it right. At least that's my message that I have for our staff. But perhaps Mr. McGinnis can provide an update during his city manager report on when we might expect to see recreational before the council for an actual decision. I really want to thank our Department of Public Works for inviting the mayor and I to attend their potluck that they had, to see their service awards and really to sit down and hear about the work that they're doing, the challenges that they're facing, and just for a good meal too. So I really enjoyed that. Thank you to Aldea Coffee and My Barefoot Wedding for their beach cleanup, as Ms. Good mentioned. I didn't know it was that high. 113 people helped out along the waterfront. I ended up, I was assigned, she sent me up towards Mulligan's Hollow, and my girlfriend and I collected almost 10 pounds of trash just up that way. So it was really a good opportunity, great weather to do that. So big thank you to them for organizing that. And then thank you, something like Pat, you set up the JHSP tour, and I really left our tour there today with a lot of pride in the fact that they're making pumps for so many different vehicle brands, Corvettes, Fords. They're making circuit boards for really fancy ovens that I had never seen before, even heard of the brand. Yeah. But they got us all gowned up. I'll post some pictures on social media. But that was just a fascinating place to see the manufacturing, the advanced manufacturing that's going on right here in Grand Haven that we can be proud of, and how they've transformed over the years, but how they've remained in Grand Haven. It was pretty awesome to see that. So thank you, Pat, for setting that up, and thank you to GHSP for hosting us.
I had a couple things. We got a response. I don't think we've got a written response yet, but from the state park about summer operating hours. And it's maybe not everything we asked for, but I think it's a pretty good compromise. Basically, if you remember, they announced that they were contemplating, rather than closing the state park at 11 o'clock during the summer between Memorial Day and Labor Day, they were going to close it at 10 o'clock. And we kind of pushed back with a letter that said, that's a really important hour to the people of Grand Haven and to the visitors in Grand Haven. So I think the compromise position, which I'll get some written guidance out when I actually see it in writing, but at the state park meeting, this is what was announced. They're going to close the parking lot entrance at 10 p.m., but they're not going to require people to leave until 11. So it will allow them to shift some people off the gate and start some of the cleanup. So at 10:30, they're going to close the restrooms, and then they will close the beach parking lot at 11 o'clock, which I think is basically their point was if you've come out to watch the sunset, you'll already be there. I wouldn't say they'd say nothing good happens after 10 o'clock if you're entering the park, but I think that they thought about it and they responded to what we asked for, and I was very encouraged by that. And I also would like to thank the Earth Day volunteers. We got an awesome day for it, and I have to say, I'm proud of you, Ryan, for picking up. We did not, but we drove by and saw hundreds of people, and our waterfront came to life because they picked up, it's funny, it just cleans it up immaculately and immediately, and the riverfront and the beach looked beautiful. So thanks to all the people who participated. That's all I got. Pat, you got anything?
Yes, Your Honor. First, we did get a confidential draft from the city attorney last week about the regulatory ordinance. I provided it to public safety to go over it. In the interim period here, I'm asking Jeff Hawk to administer the applications should this thing get approved. So he's going over it. We're going to get together and nail things down. Probably your May 16th meeting, I could have something. If not, then the June 6th meeting. And like you said, we're being very cautious. And there was some due diligence and intentionality. You guys really wanted to get an opinion from the attorney and discuss it. And, so there was a good deal of process. And of course, the Planning Commission took a couple meetings with it and had some additional questions. So I think we've taken a little longer than you initially set out. So I appreciate your patience as we work on that. Not sure about Ryan bringing Lisa on a date to pick up garbage. I don't know what that's about, but I think you got to keep her if she went along with that and enjoyed herself. The other two things that I had were the Coast Guard Festival is proposing to present their plan to you on May 2nd, which would be during your work session next Monday night. We had talked to them about having a sit-down, comfortable work session format here on May 17th. So May 17th at 2 p.m. Could be a special meeting with the Coast Guard Festival Board to go over any detail if we need it. If they present a plan next Monday and everybody's feeling comfortable, maybe we don't need to do that. But Mike Smith had asked, and I thought it was reasonable. We do our annual event planning, and they're probably the biggest single event. And he expressed that he'd really like an opportunity to maybe have a little more conversational exchange with City Council than a stand at the podium and deliver the plan. So I said, great, we'll plan it for the 17th, 2 p.m. If we don't need it, we don't have to do it, but I just wanted you to pencil that in. And then finally, the Washington Beach Tree Parking Assessment. I don't know if you could just put that map up there really quickly, Ashley. We all know that down at Washington and Beach Tree, we've had a lot of really cool new investment and things happening down in that part of town, and parking's a big issue. So we talked to our friends at the Grand Haven Spring Lake Sewer Authority, who own a pretty decent amount of real estate down there for future expansion possibly, and they agreed that if we wanted to, we could use some of their property to extend their parking lot and create more parking down there for that blossoming commercial neighborhood. You've got Norm's, you've got Sporty's, you've got the Music Studio and City Farmer, Berserk, Knights of Columbus, the corner property on the other corner, which is kind of in transition. I'm not sure what's going to go in there. It was a bike shop, a motorcycle shop, but a lot of potential down there and not any public parking. Typically, a single parking spot is priced at $30,000 ballpark is what it costs. That includes real estate. This plan would dwarf that. I think this plan we'd be less than $10,000 per spot because of the real estate donation. The sewer authority agreed to just let us use their property, no charge. Well, that's a pretty good deal. So I pitched that to all the surrounding businesses, and they said we'd be interested. We'd like to further explore that in terms of a special assessment. So I wanted to report tonight that I would be working on that, presenting something to you. I brought it up with earlier last year in '21 briefly, and I thought I ought to give you an update before I do much more work on it. But I think that neighborhood's got great potential, and the possibility that we can get a bargain on a city parking lot down there. It'd be one more parking lot to plow, but we're doing the wastewater plant parking lot anyways, so it's a few more swipes in the early morning in the wintertime, and we'd need to beef up those crosswalks, because when you get that 20-pound ice cream cone at Norm's, it can distract you. You might wander out into traffic, so we'll probably put some better pedestrian signals there to make it a little safer to get across there, but I just wanted to explain that to you, and I need to keep the ball rolling on that, so if you don't hear about this in the next couple meetings,
Ask about it.
definitely prompt me. And I know they're prompting me down there. The owners of Norm's are being very patient. They're the ones that are pushing it the most, but it was very gratifying to hear from just about they signed a letter saying we're interested, because I always like to have that later if they say, why are you shoving this down our throats? And we can say, well, you guys initiated it and asked us to look into it. So we'll put some numbers together and show what a 20-year assessment might look like, and then you can talk about whether or not the city might want to participate on any level. That's all I had tonight, Your Honor. Thank you.
We should congratulate Gary Boyd and getting Unicon off the ground.
Is it open?
No.
It's got all its
He's
approvals.
got some approvals and
Got
he's
all his
going?
financing
We
in
should
play.
definitely congratulate him.
He's going to be moving forward. I talked to the chairman of the Planning Commission, and he agreed that the previous Planning Commission approval would be sufficient. He did get started within a year, which is the standard now. COVID happened and everything stopped, and then there were some issues with the financing that he's straightened out now. So I'm going to present on May 10th to the Planning Commission, so they're all up to speed and they understand, but the plan is stated exactly the same, so I don't want to have to push them all the way back to the beginning of the line. We're just going to let them continue on and possibly work with them with the building inspectors too to get that, because he's already covered his building permits and submitted all his plans, and they've all been reviewed and paid for. So we're going to try to expedite that, and I appreciate your affirmation tonight that that's something we want to see happen.
Yeah, that's great. It's great for
That
neighborhood.
whole corridor is really, and I got to credit City Council. You're all elected officials, but the elected officials drove that rebirth of that whole corridor by doing the street project. From one end to the other, it was 3 different phases. It took us 12 years, I think, and about $6 million, but we finally got it done. So getting a new street, new sewer, new water, new sidewalks, new street lighting, boat parks, beautiful. So I think it's really working. It shows that when you invest a little bit in infrastructure, good things happen. You're putting money into Sluka Field, and we're seeing results there. East Grand River Parks, seen a lot of improvements. We irrigated Fritz Field down there. So I mean, you've done a lot for that east side neighborhood. If there's a perception that everything's always about the waterfront down here, it's really not true. You are doing a considerable amount of work on that side of town as well.
I just want to say thank you for reaching out to the business owners first before we go ahead with the parking lot, and that it's always nice to give them a heads up like that and get their blessing ahead of time instead of trying to just at the last minute give it to them. So thank you so very much, Pat. I appreciate it.
I've taken my share of beatings for not doing that.
Yeah,
So.
I think you've been here long enough, you know the route by now, so it's easier to do it that way.
Okay, it's time for the second call to the audience. Members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line. We will take all callers. Looks like we have a taker, sir. Please step to the mic.
My name is Dale Fry, and I live at 1014 Columbus. You had an issue that you voted on for zoning. It was not clear whether that was a complete or partial retracting of an act passed in 2021, or if it was an extension revoking actions of that time, plus causing more restrictions in zoning, or what it was exactly. It used a lot of abbreviations. And I don't think that anybody in the city, other than the city government's friends, had much to say about it. I would have liked to see an in-person event in which the city council asks for questions, doesn't make much statements, and allows people to express themselves. I see the solution to housing, one of the solutions, is that we do not permit any more buildings like the one down here in Columbus, which is square and has 6 apartments, the one further down Columbus, the one that you can see if you go down to Spelder, and then you look to the east, there's another one like that. I don't think they add anything to the city. I think what would add something to the city is if you allowed people to rebuild their garages with apartments over them, provided that somewhere on the property, some person who is a relation, be it the father, the mother, their kids, somebody is a relationship to the landowner, and that they live either in the little apartment or in the house, because that means, you know, things will be under control. And I have an experience with the rental people around here. Some have owned hundreds or thousands of rental properties. They don't own them. I mean, they rent them. And I have nothing good to say about them. I think this might, you know, I think this could help a lot, because we see a lot of big houses, and if you look at them, they've got 2 doors in the front. And you know darn well there's 2 or 3 families there. And they're doing fine. And they look wonderful. And I think that's the way we should go. And that, and you might consider making all, like apartments or whatever, have to have 10% affordable housing. You could think about that. But we have all these places where you could have improvements, right, in the city. And something was put out by the Michigan Development Council. I have a little book. It's about 1/2 inch thick. It's maybe 2 or 3 years old. But one thing they said, if you want to make a city successful, you mix the people. You know, in other words, you let some poor people live among the rich, and you let some people live in the business area. So that there's a lot of mixing between the activities. So, have a good day.
Thank you very much, sir.
Rick Krogan from 1700 Robbins Road. You'll have to forgive me, because I was, like I said, at a point I was in the Navy for 6 years and 4, and I was on an aircraft carrier, so I don't hear so well. I would highly recommend never living under an airport, but if you do, you're going to have some hearing problem. So when the kind gentleman made a comment about I didn't hear it, and I don't know what you were trying to say. So I don't know if you want to respond to that, or I know if we're allowed to at this point, because that's pertinent to where I want to go for this. Okay?
Yeah, if you're okay with it, sir, I can talk with you right after the meeting.
Okay, that would be
Okay.
that'd be fine
Okay.
too.
Yep.
The other side here is that there were 3 of you, if I understand it correctly, because I wasn't here, that said no. Do I have to go back and find who those 3 were, or will those 3 identify themselves?
There's been no vote yet, sir. That's what Ryan will talk to you about. But
see,
I
that
will
helps.
I will identify myself as someone opposed to selling recreational marijuana in the city, if that helps.
Okay. The other side is that I am not with any company, any person that has anything to do with the cannabis business, right? So first of all, I'm not someone sent here to talk about that. I'm more of on a libertarian stance of things. What I do, if it doesn't hurt anyone, shouldn't be your business, period. Okay? Somehow, whenever people become politicians, the first thing they think they got to do is get into your eating habits, your bedroom habits, we love that one, and anything else, right? That's what they think they got to do. And so whenever you've got to make a morality stand as a politician, there is only one answer, and it's real simple. You don't do it. Now, if you have a stance based on evidence, that makes a lot of sense. But if it's a morality stance or a hearsay that oh gee, my aunt's son got into pot, and then next thing you know he was into heroin. It doesn't work that way. It's real clear that anyone who studies it or knows anything about that, no, they had problems. That person who got into an addicted drug like that, yeah, that's a huge problem. Pot isn't it. Most likely, if you hear someone got to jail, they only went to jail one way, because we pay a lot of money to put people in jail. Government makes a ton of money, and nothing's better than pot. It's a minority, and we go after them, and we love to throw them in jail, and we do it. It's good money for the state, and always has been, and good money for the county. So it's not something, it's even good money probably for the city. I don't know if they still do that. They used to give you guys a cutoff every time you bust someone. I don't know if they do that anymore. Hopefully they don't. But the point about all this for me is what I also learned tonight too, which is really amazing, is you guys are incredibly slow. Incredibly slow. You've got teams of people who go out, who are supposed to be the specialists, who make a suggestion to you, tell you to go do the suggestion. You come through it and you say, when I heard that last week, I thought this was different. What do you mean you thought it was different? You already heard the presentation. You already saw this. Now, from the city clerk, is that right?
Yes, sir.
What I have to know is, what is the recall? I believe the only process we have is a recall. As a single citizen, all I have is to go start a recall. That's all I can do. Is that true?
You can also choose to run for office yourself. You can choose
No,
to...
running for office isn't the key.
Sure, you can choose to support other elected officials if they're on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly an option.
But we can recall.
There is
And probably should. If people do not want to do what the town wants you to do, what the state wants you to do, what the whole country has said they want, and you guys manage to stand up and say no. For what? What could it possibly do? I mean, you went out there and said, oh, we need to have more partying down on Main Street. Yeah, it sells money, it sells alcohol, we've got that figured out, we know, and nobody wants to argue about alcohol. We all get that, okay? I like alcohol myself. Probably you'll see Rick down there too. But don't tie this into some fantasy that you have about what marijuana is, or what cannabis is, or what TCB. Don't do that. It's just not the right thing to do. I'm sorry.
Yep, your 3 minutes ran out, Rick, but
Oh, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Got anyone else?
Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd like to encourage the council when we have new projects such as, or major revamps such as on the diesel plant and on the condos, townhouses, to require solar on them. I looked at the solar production on the diesel building and it's quite substantial if you look at the size of the roof. So I really think we need to start pushing our developers into the renewable field to help out with carbon. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. I think we had one other back there. Oh, go ahead.
Mayor, City Council, I'm Attorney Laureen Birdsall. It's my pleasure to meet you, Mr. Nodos, both Mr. Nodos. Thank you for your vote this evening. I know that was not a difficult decision for you to, or was not an easy decision for you to make. I do think it was the right one. Of course, our interest with the Nodos property was just simply to avoid litigation. I do have my business card. I'm going to offer it to Mr. Nodos so that he may reach out to me if he would like to. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to introduce myself and thank you for your vote.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Mayor, council members, you got a tough job, no question about it. Neighbors, folks that have listened all night, all day, I'm trying to make things simple. And being a teacher, I'm not a lawyer. But 3 things that all political leaders might possibly consider to make their job easier, because you're doing a great job with these tough situations. For in our case, did we create jobs? Clearly the answer is yes. Did we pay our taxes? Clearly the answer is yes. And is it good for the community? So that's the question in terms of being able to create what we're about to do, what we're trying to do. 100% is real difficult to get. It would be great to be able to achieve that. But in this case, it's exactly what we need to do. We need to honor in terms of the postponement, which has been tough, but something that we have to get done correctly. So again, we would appreciate your help in making this possible. As we had the consent of the support consent judgment approved from the original 2007, along with the addendum in 2018. And now we're requesting the approval for our present proposal with an addendum that would have the support of the city as well as the Highland Park Association, including all of our neighbors as well. Whoever that may be that would have complaints or concerns, the door is always open. We certainly appreciate all your help and all your efforts. Saves us a lot of money if we don't do it. We talk about business and wanting to create opportunities that's going to grow the community. I shared with you folks too a nice article that was presented for the benefit of the community as well. We're doing the best job we can. Again, the bottom line is we didn't build Howard's building that he proposed. And the next time I can propose to bring that building with the 2 underground parking lot spaces and things, and with the building being much larger, and move forward. Yes, we're making some changes. We've heard others talk about business changes, the format changes. COVID changed things. We're pivoting as much as we possibly can, and I just hope we have the energy to be able to continue a little further. So thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, City Council, my name is Warren Fight. I know the hour is late. I'll try and be brief. I came in initially to express my concern about commercial development in our cherished waterfront, all along the waterfront. And I've been a lifelong resident here, and I've seen the incremental justification for expanded parking, expanded retail, expanded commercial enterprise. So my issue isn't so much with the specific and incremental desire that Nodos has to expand their business. It is the principle of at what point do we reach a limit in terms of our encroachment on what the Presbyterian minister, when he opened with the invocation, suggested was a precious resource that we all have responsibility and stewardship over. So my concern is that we not continue a process which seems inevitable to have expanded commercial interests along the lakeshore. Bill Maher initially in the notice did a great job with the improvements, and I know they were constrained. They did a good job within those constraints, but now they're looking to increase the development, and it's that kind of incremental pressure that I have a concern about. I know that I wanted to also applaud the council for them being deliberate and taking time to think through and work through the importance of these kinds of decisions. There's probably a bias for council members to look decisive and active and be movers and shakers in the community and be, bringing about growth and all that, but there is a balance to be struck, especially when it involves how we use and preserve our natural environment and the resources, lest we lose what we say we value most. So I want to thank you for your patience and your willingness to look, a little bit slow moving as you table and consider and reconsider these issues. I think it's well worth your doing so, and we're at a tipping point, I think, in the community regarding density, regarding development, regarding all those things. So I appreciate your willingness to really be thoughtful and work through those issues. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I thought I saw one more in back. We're good? Okay, meeting adjourned. Hey guys, can you stick for 1 second?